All right, guys, welcome to August 9th pre-recorded Zoom. It is, yeah, August 9th. Based on our conversation from Friday, we had Dominic on and he gave us his personal view. Let me actually delete some stuff and we can cover that just really quickly here. Highly recommend you do watch that though. So his entire view was, right, seeing this POI, taking liquidity, and then seeing this just because of the big move from news, seeing that probably leave inefficiency and potentially falling off after that. So my only argument against that was obviously the potential unwillingness, the overall swing direction. So my bias was much more structural based. His bias was much more not theory but logic based, just because of the backtesting of pretty much news moves, and seeing them pretty much fail after they occur. So my entire argument was, right, obviously we need internal bearish structure here to give us that pullback. So as of now, we don't necessarily see any sort of bullish transition, right? Even here, we don't see any type of bullish transition. So I never really found any way to justify my original bias. However, right, with Dom's bias, it does seem a whole lot more probable where we could see this potentially fail. So the only thing that's keeping this up now, right, is obviously the inefficiency fill based on structure, and there is a turbulence point here which we're technically reacting off of right now. However, I do see this right now, right? This is the only thing that I see holding up price. If we break this, I don't necessarily see any type of POI mitigation here. There is potential 50% there, but outside of that, I don't see much outside of maybe a wick here potentially. However, this would need a bearish transition due to it being the continuation BOS signaling unwillingness based on this low. So as of now, I do see a potential POI there holding up price, and it could be signaling a potential move into the upside if we get, this potential closure here. We are seeing this give us the failure there. And as far as internal structure goes, we have solidified the low after this continuation BOS. We've solidified the low, confirmed the reaction. I'm pretty sure that was like a 3-hour, 4-hour, 3-hour move here. So yeah, as of now, and we do see that bullish engulfing as well. So whatever happens, pretty much even up until here, 50% of that POI with 3-hour potential point of interest from a 3-hour time frame. Depending on what happens here, we will really see what happens in terms of directional bias. But as we've said before, if we look at this looks a lot more bullish in my opinion, whereas this looks a lot more messy. This looks a lot more messy because we have seen that we wanted to get a bearish reaction. However, there's a ton of weak order flow here, and then there's a ton of weak bullish order flow here. 1, 2, 3 mitigations to barely reach a high and then fail. And then we have seen failure to create a new low, failure to create a new high, failure to create a new low again, and failure to create a new high right now. However, right, based on this bias, if we are to come up higher here, obviously we are to come up lower here. However, the only way that can happen is seeing what happens here internally. So we're technically in no man's land. So it's really hard to predict what kind of directional bias we will get into. So as of now, we are reacting off of an H1 inefficiency. Internally, we didn't necessarily see too much in terms of a potential re-entry. not even the 50%, as you can see. So nothing really too appealing here. However, disregarding that POI, we can see that, actually I'll go back to M5. We can see where our original bias was, which was, you know, me having the arrow here to the downside after the breaking of this. So we see that based on previous structure here, right, that previous structure gave a reaction. It broke internal structures here and here, so that confirms the reaction solidified high. However, we did not break the overall low. And as you can see, after, right, we had the confirmed reaction. We could see the continuation BOS here, signaling unwillingness. So this would create consistent higher lows, which would technically invalidate this scenario here. But either way, it's been super choppy. And I think that just shows that, you know, just how uncertain we are right now in terms of direction. So as of now, we can easily see from a minor intraday that we're seeing, you know, momentum into the upside. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see, you know, anything towards the upside. However, the only thing holding that up would be the H1 POI that we had mentioned right now. So as of now, I wouldn't be surprised if we also go a little bit lower, because the only thing that I can see holding up price from coming up lower and following that potential DXY bias that we are looking into would be this here. And in terms of distance, that could also correlate with a potential wick here. So let's actually note that out. So as of now, this would probably be the only thing holding us up. There is still an inefficiency there, but I do see this coming down into the wick. And if we react from here, then we are compressing even more, because as you can see, we're seeing a potential flag be shown here, and it doesn't really show too much of where we will go from a directional bias, just because we're technically still within no man's land here. Also, AUDUSD, this one is also a bit weird. We already know, we already talked about the accumulation here with the volume, and we've already seen, you know, the reaction continue. However, now we have seen that, you know, we created a new low, and even though there was like a big whiplash here, we created a new low, the continuation that we talked about last week. And as of now, there is a bullish liquidity grab. So this signals more of a bullish bias, which kind of, you know, counteracts this. So I don't necessarily know if we will actually follow through with that bias, because as of now, technically I would consider, right, the internal structural range, order flow disruption, and I would consider low momentum. However, this is where we judge reactions. We've already seen solidified low, as well as that create a new structural range, and then that create a new high again, solidifying the previous low. So as of now, I do want to consider that bearish bias, because I do see two failures to create new highs here, and we're creating substantial new lows based in comparison to these highs. So it is looking a bit messy, but because now, right, we have the inefficiency here, create a new low, I do see this potentially starting to come lower, which is kind of what, you know, Dominic was preferring with this, because as you can see, we do have bearish order flow. However, the difference between AU and EU and DXY in that scenario is that this created failed bullish reactions, whereas this did not create any failed bullish reactions, where we're seeing consistent, you know, structure and order flow to the downside. Here we are seeing consistent attempts to go higher and then failing. So I am more so keen on preferably seeing the bearish bias, but I guess we'll see this within the next couple of days, because we could get the immediate continuation, or you could even get the 50% there. So yeah, with that being said, it is looking a little choppy, but I would much rather prefer to see the bullish bias on DXY, because that would then fit, you know, a lot better on not necessarily EU, but on AU. And this could give us, you know, a pretty big swing to the downside. But either way, however this decides to go, you know, I guess we'll have to wait and see. So yeah, with that being said, I'll see you guys on Friday.